Welcome. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Polish Open. It's the 2016 ITTF World Tour, and we're here live in Warsaw. I'm Adam Bobrow, your commentator, and we're getting into the quarterfinal for women's singles. It's Kasumi Ishikawa versus Ying. And while these two players are both legendary on the international circuit, it is the first time that they have ever faced each other in an official match. Should be an exciting battle. Ying of Germany, 32 years old, currently world ranked number 9 after moving up 2 spots in the world from last month. She's the 5th seed in this tournament, and she's got short pips on the backhand side, seems to get everything back on the table, and as many modern defenders, especially with short pips, do, she can attack like nobody's business. Kasumi Ishikawa from Japan, quite famous and popular throughout Japan, is the 1st seed in this tournament, world ranked number 4. She's 23 years old. And it will be an exciting battle of not only physical strength, but creative play, wit, and tactics out here. Kasumi Ishikawa, left-handed. You can see her racket on the left there. Smooth rubber on both sides. Very comfortable with fast pace of play. Looping placement. Now, every defender is a little bit different. Seo-hwan and Kasumi Ishikawa faced off in the World Tour Grand Finals of 2014 in Thailand. And Kasumi Ishikawa was in solid form. There's her practice partner and coach, Gao Yu Yao from China, who's been working with her in Japan for some time now. Kasumi Ishikawa speaks Mandarin, the Putonghua, along with Japanese and a bit of English as well. She has 2 of her practice partners here and is in great form. At 23 years old, is likely to be playing the Olympics, but only in early May will we know for sure what the roster is. You have to imagine the coaches would like to send Ai Fukuhara and Kasumi Ishikawa. We'll see. Mima Ito's been playing very well as well. Might join the team. We'll see if she ends up getting a singles spot. A lot of talk this year as the Olympics are coming up in August. And this is a dream for many athletes around the world to qualify for the Olympics, to bring a medal home for their country. There's no bigger honor. So once every 4 years, players get very excited for the qualification process. Last week was Hong Kong, where Kasumi Ishikawa made it to the finals in stage 1, but did not directly qualify. So it looks like Kasumi Ishikawa is going to be starting off with the serve, and Ying chose the side of the table she'd like to stand on, checking out each other's equipment. Now the importance there, I'd say to a tournament player who is not a professional, it might not make that much of a difference. Okay, you've got inverted rubber. You're going to be spinning with your forehand. You're going to be playing more defense with the backhand. Got it. But the top sheet being more tacky or fresh, as far as if it's a Chinese rubber, if it's a more, let's say, higher throw angle, every different brand, every different model of a brand affects the spin and play of the ball. And these players are quite familiar with the differences in the rubber, sponge thickness, and all that. I told you a little bit about Ying's attack. She can hit flat on both sides, but on the forehand, as many defenders can. Quite heavy spin. But as far as the Japanese women go, they're very famous in Japan. If it weren't for Ai Fukuhara years ago, at 5 years old, being on TV, crying, and capturing the entire nation, holding them captive, saying, oh, this girl is so cute. She became a legend, a hero, and the whole country watched her from her beginning years, single digits, all the way through being a professional, challenging the world's best players. And now the women's program, there are many, many professionals. While the men's side only has about 6 full-time professionals that don't work for a company, the women's side has about 30 or more professional full-time players. And many of them are here with their own coaches and practice partners, many of which are from China to help them stay in top form and be at the top level, where Ying originates from, but of course, representing Germany for some time now. This will be a best-of-7 match. Again, it's a major series on the World Tour, so world ranking points, bonus points. Getting a title here could be huge as far as climbing up in the world rankings to help qualify for the Olympics, that is. Ishikawa with the serve at the top of the screen to start it off. Love all. Now, a lot of the time we'll see against defenders, players working into their rhythm, learning to play a little bit more patiently. Defenders are much more used to playing attackers than the other way around. These are the sort of rallies that force the expedite rule. Han Ying showing she can get everything back. Topspin deep into the backhand corner. Both players quite steady. Ishikawa comfortable in the blocking game as well. As long as she keeps her attacks deep on the table and the pushes as well, to be able to keep the ball in play. But a solid forehand, deep cross court. Gives Ishikawa a 2-1 lead. And finally earning it again. Han Ying had thrown side spin both directions in that rally, hooking many out wide to the forehand, one curving back into the body. Again, with the short pips on the backhand side, a little bit easier to change up the spin, vary your chops. No question about how Kasumi Ishikawa feels there. The tongue out, full expression on the face. When you get a ball a little bit in near the net, to take advantage of an angle like that, it's the obvious choice, but it's not easy to hit a ball from over the table that's loaded with spin. So far, Kasumi Ishikawa has only dropped 2 games in this tournament, although in the opening round, playing Eva Odorova was a very challenging match for Ishikawa. Flat hit of the backhand. It's also very difficult to calibrate your shot to a flat hit. Tougher to counter, not much spin to block back. As hard as they come, ball comes up just a little bit, and a step around forehand from Ishikawa with power. This is one of Ishikawa's specialties. Now again, Ishikawa not especially tall, but the step around forehand on the backhand corner is going to be very tough for Han Ying to get. You notice how Han Ying moves around Ishikawa. The defensive play, the chops deep into the backhand corner, all over the table, not allowing Ishikawa to get too comfortable. Two off the top of the net in the same rally. Ishikawa takes the point. The very first point of the game, we saw a little bit of, I wouldn't say anxiety, but ambitious play. Ishikawa trying to finish the point, and here she's really settled into playing more patiently. No chance there. Short to the backhand side and the step around forehand for the winner. Han Ying typically keeps her balls nice and low on the table, but this one just gets up too much. And Ishikawa has her choosing there for the point. Also, the fast feet of Ishikawa puts a little extra pressure on Han Ying. Ishikawa seems very comfortable to move and cover the table. Sort of shuts down one of the threats of Han Ying's placement on her chops. That one was loaded. Very unusual stroke, not the typical follow through. Much like a serve, Han Ying stopped shortly after the contact there. Seemed to fool Ishikawa. No, no, no. Patience, patience. Let's see, Ishikawa got a little anxious again, a little ambitious early on. Very difficult to lift something that's way out in front of you. You can try it at home with a chair, even a salt shaker if you want. A bit of a break here. Han Ying starting to catch up after Kasumi Ishikawa was running away with game one. Inside out forehand again. Anything Ishikawa can do to get to that position right now. Her percentages go way up when she's on the backhand corner. A bit more confidence with that inside out forehand. Han Ying keeps it out on the forehand side. Ishikawa has a strong variety of serves. Often can set up her shot quite well. But Han Ying very comfortable in the receive game, which as a defender, just like anyone else, crucial. So loaded, so heavy with spin from under the table, a bit of side chop on it. And suddenly Han Ying's back. Felt like what could have been 4-8 down. 5 of the next 6 points to Han Ying. And that's what Kasumi works for. Gets it over in the backhand corner. Tries to play the short side of the table, though. Looks like she's going to go the length of the table out to the forehand side. Changes up at the last moment. Now Han Ying with a game point. The power finally, what patience and precision. Kasumi Ishikawa worked so hard for that opportunity, even crushing a ball in the middle of the rally, and finally puts it away. Saves a game point here. Not many opportunities there to hit the ball hard, but Ishikawa really worked for it. Not that one, deep on the table and loaded. I feel like Ishikawa throughout the years, especially in the last year or so, has become more expressive on the court. Crisp shot. Low to the net, deep to the backhand, saves another game point for the second deuce here. Strong setup. The serve comes back a little bit high to the forehand side, and Ishikawa doesn't read it properly. It is tougher to generate so much spin with the backhand side of the racket early on in the rally. Han Ying deceptive, earning another game point. Step around forehand goes long. Instead of going inside out, tries for the short side of the table. I think that's a good idea. Coach Shep in the corner, defensive specialist from Germany. He's been the women's coach for Germany for some time now. And another game point saved by Ishikawa. See what she comes back here with, setting up a third ball to get into the rally strong. Half long serve, deceptive spin. First time we've seen a missed receive that I can recall from Han Ying this match. Now game point to Ishikawa. Long push and the missed contact on the loop. It's 14-12. Kasumi Ishikawa takes game one, and we'll be back for game two after this short break. And as the players come back for game two, it's Kasumi Ishikawa who's leading 1-0 in blue over Han Ying, the defensive specialist from Germany, at the top of the screen. Ishikawa was leading strong early on, or late parts of the game, I'd say, before they got into deuce. Han Ying coming back, really fighting through. Feels like deja vu from game one. Ball popped up a little bit, and Ishikawa looking for the hard-hitting opportunity. This time the ball's too shallow and a clean read for Ishikawa. Might have taken a little off the top of the net, but still sees the ball well. Not on that ball, deep on the table, right at the baseline. That one clips the net. Ishikawa's had several. I think Han Ying's spin variation and deceptive amounts of spin create that a lot. That shot was not an easy ball. When Kasumi turned the corner for that, it looked for sure like it was going into the net. Flat hits right through. How low this chop is. Deep enough on the table, but still powers through. Watches it perfectly. What are you gonna do, Han Ying? After two forehand attacks, it's a chop that wins the point for Han Ying. They seemed a bit more conservative on the attack side. Han Ying tends to hit to finish the point with her forehand. This is the second point in a row that Han Ying has gotten an attack in, this time even harder than the one before, but it was the defensive shot, the chop, that won the point. Float there. Ishikawa not reading, just overlifting. And much like on a serve, short follow through can help confuse the opponent. Han Ying's used that well to float back a few and can also create some heavy chops. Again, left a bit too high, but loaded with spin out in front. Not an easy shot. Several times so far this game, the ball's come floating back, and Ishikawa hasn't read it well. Trying to vary it up by opening with the backhand spin shot. Can be a good way to set up a finisher for the forehand. Spinny ball left out in front. Han Ying missed times. A little bit behind the table there. Again, a lot of modern defense as close to the table as they can be to make attacks as soon as they see the opportunity. Keep the threat on. Deep on the table, safe spinny ball from Ishikawa. See right at the white line there. Both these women are playing for a chance to move on, of course, to the semifinals to take a title here. But when you really think about national association with the Olympics coming up, Kasumi Ishikawa, like Ai Fukuhara, needs to hang on to her spot. Both Ai Fukuhara and Ishikawa have suffered some tough losses to lower-ranked players in the last year of their career. And with Mima Ito coming up, tough to know. Every national association wants the best chance to bring home a medal. And the seesaw continues to sway. Han Ying making her comeback here. It's been back and forth all of game 2. But this time the attack's better placed deeper into the backhand corner. Again, the subtlety on the top spin from that backhand serve. Some clever decisions early on in the point. Ishikawa not happy there. Looked like she wished she had gone for a backhand attack. A lot of safe push play. Little break off the top of the net for Han Ying to continue her streak. That's 4 in a row from down 5-7. Strong as they come. Not too often you see that against a chopper. Serve comes a little long and just destroyed cross court by Ishikawa. A very clever idea there to use the short pips to serve. Quite rare we see the pip side of the racket involved with the serve. Tougher to put the spin on and control. Sometimes allows too easy of an opening for the attacker, whether it's a flip or a full stroke. Here we are again at 9 points each. Attempted float with a short stroke, but Han Ying floats it too long, and Ishikawa earns a game point. It almost seemed like Ishikawa's pace and placement caused Han Ying that sort of shorter stroke shot, like maybe it wasn't as intentional. Maybe a last resort. just long, and Ishikawa escapes by 2 once again. 11 points to 9 to take a 2-game-0 lead. We'll see if it continues or if Han Ying starts her comeback in game 3 right after this short break. And as the players come back for game 3, Kasumi Ishikawa in blue leading 2-0 over Han Ying in their first head-to-head encounter. You're watching history in the making. Both players taking titles in 2015. It was Austria for Han Ying, the defender, Bulgaria and Philippines for Kasumi Ishikawa, 2 titles in 2015. That's just too wide off the side of the table. It was about 2 arms length away from Han Ying. And the placement on it too, from near the center of the table. Very unexpected shot from Ishikawa. As deep as they come on the table. And one thing Han Ying does really well, in addition to varying her spin, is the trajectory and speed of the shot. You'll see some very slow but very spinny balls set in there as sort of tempting teasers for Ishikawa to try and take. Oh, beautiful block covering the middle completely, way out wide to the exact corner of the table. Han Ying stepping around for a furious attack here. Look at this. And with no time to react, Ishikawa, that's a person you want driving your car late at night. The deep push loaded with spin from Han Ying to tie it up. Break off the top of the net, a little fortune for Ishikawa again. Now, as far as balance goes, usually in a 7-game match, things tend to balance out a bit. Ishikawa so far between nets, I guess mostly nets, have just been more in her favor. A little too shallow on the table, and Ishikawa able to take it from out in front. Since the beginning of the match, though, I feel like Ishikawa's really stepped up her focus on attacking the balls that are out in front over the table. While Ishikawa had a ripping receive earlier in the match, this time fooled on the serve. Turns the tough shot, blocked back into the body. That is the face of a very focused but very funny player. Kasumi Ishikawa, known to be one of the nicest athletes. Voted nicest athlete of 2014 in Japan. I can tell you from experience, he's incredibly kind. over the table. A lot of work to get that last shot deep into the backhand. Han Ying rarely fooled. Han Ying covers the ground so well, too, and I think a lot of it is her experience. She reads the opponent. Is used to playing in patterns, of course, setting up her shots. It looked like Han Ying thought the point was over with that one that floated back, stood upright, and it came down on the table. Gotta love these points. Step around attacks, come back quick to the backhand side. Han Ying really knows how to keep a rally going for quite some time. And also how to finish one on her serve. It's the second time this game that a serve has outright won the point for Han Ying. I think it was this point last game that Han Ying took 4 in a row. Oh, back edge of the table. The luck coming back a bit, and Han Ying making it a 1-point game after all these shots in the rally. Moving Ishikawa around the table so well. It's as deep as they come. It's a high ball, too. Sort of like when a lob comes down on the edge of the table. It seems a little bit more lucky than usual. But this time it just misses. Ishikawa hangs on to the lead. No deja vu from last game. Seemed a little bit deep on the table for the first bounce. Well, Han Ying didn't seem too frustrated about the serve into the net quick to get into the next point. The forehand attack has been trouble for her. She's trying to keep it as deep on the table as possible. And now 4 game points for Ishikawa. Trying something new, the backhand side with the topspin shot. The block off the short pips goes out. 11-6 for Ishikawa. Could be the last game. It's game 4 just after this. You can see the scores there on the screen. It's Kasumi Ishikawa, the 23-year-old from Japan, who's leading 3 games to 0 over the 32-year-old from Germany, Han Ying. So Han Ying now with her back against the wall. See what she can do to start it off in game 4. I think 3 out of the 4 games we've seen start so far with the point Ishikawa going for an attack early on, missing long. Or at least missing on the attack early in the point. And this is the sign of somebody searching for some answers. You saw late in the game, Game point down 6-10. Han Ying going for the backhand block. And she has the short pips there because this is a weapon she wants to have, that backhand attack near the table. So far, it hasn't earned her a point in this match. Surprisingly enough, Ishikawa, who's done quite well in this match to get where she is, has been able to spin the ball up, even with a little bit higher arc deep on the table, not having to be too concerned about Han Ying's counterattack. While that was a bit of fortune, I was still surprised Ishikawa didn't stick out the racket. The ball came off the table after one bounce. But still, the party has started and the backhand attack has not shown up. The first towel break of the game, and Ishikawa down. Cannot relax despite being relatively close to the finish line. Still quite early in the game. And there it is, the forehand attack spun and blocked off. I was just thinking about how comfortable Ishikawa has been in the blocking game. Even more difficult shots where Han Ying has been to the short side of the table, stepping around the backhand. A little less time for Ishikawa to react. Oh, an edge again. So things are starting to even out, some table tennis karma out here. The ball is round. Generally, one thing that's impressed me of Ishikawa, her footwork throughout. She's been so quick to get to the spot wherever she needs to be. A lot of people forget that against a defender, footwork is so important. Serve we haven't seen, the inside-out kicking spin. Bit of top inside from Ishikawa and a backhand follow-up for a third ball. Best rally in some time, probably this game. But still, it hasn't gone the way of Ishikawa as much as she would like out here. Manages to block back and attack. Recover a few shots early on. And pressured after a beautiful inside-out forehand, comes back. Tries to take the backhand punch. We've got 6 game points for Han Ying. What a turnaround in scores here. The first two very close by only 2 points. Ishikawa won. Crisp block, stays low, sneaks under the racket. 1 game point saved by Ishikawa. Inside out forehand, and Han Ying takes it 11 points to 5 to put her first game on the board. It's 1 game to 3, and we'll be back for game 5 after they talk to their coaches. Stay right here. as the players come back for game 5. Kasumi Ishikawa still in the lead, but now up 3 games to 1 after losing the last game. As hard as they come inside out wide. Han Ying anticipating, but still can't quite get it back. This is the under pressure flat hit shot, trying to play it out to the open corner. A frustrating experience indeed, the ball coming up that high. But as always, spin variation, placement on the table. You could see even Han Ying wasn't happy about that chop. Winning the point isn't always enough. Be thoughtful. Decisions, decisions. Table tennis, an analogy for life out here. And after the first point or two of game 1, Kasumi Ishikawa continued that game in the next 2, seeming so comfortable reading the spin of her opponent. But last game, 11-5, and struggling here at the beginning of game 5. Seems to be a bit confused by the variation. Han Ying loading it with spin, and Ishikawa reading it like a book to blast it into the body on the backhand side. The luck is going back and forth here. You can really see how faint the contact is on some of these spinny shots from Han Ying. A little bit quieter too, more of a high-pitched sound as she lightly brushes the ball to load it, as opposed to the floating ones that are a little deeper, vibrations going all the way through to the wood. I think this has to be the most expressive I've seen Kasumi Ishikawa on the court. No question about how she feels. And with about 5 shots from under the table in that rally, Han Ying managing to vary up the topspin, forcing a hair change out of Kasumi Ishikawa. So many times, Kasumi Ishikawa had to watch the ball very carefully before taking her shot. As far as confidence goes, as a player starts to tense up mentally, it physically tends to tighten up the muscles, makes it a little tougher for you to do your job, use your muscle memory to play the way you're used to. So Han Ying can continue to make Ishikawa nervous and uncomfortable out here. Really could turn things around. Another edge ball for Han Ying. It's a well-placed ball from Ishikawa, too. Floating serve well placed, the half-long serve. Defenders, just like attackers, have to make sure the length of the serve, the height of the serve, everything is just right. Percentages have gone so far down so far. I think if Kasumi can set up the attack with the forehand from the backhand corner like she was winning points with early on in the match, change up her placement a bit early in the rally. Patient play, but overly patient, one might say, as Ying creeps in for the counterattack. There was really only one shot in that rally that felt like it had the power to end the point. From ISHIKAWA, everything else was sort of patiently spinning to keep Ying away. And now we've got 6 game points again, like last game for Ying. A little bit flat-footed there, Ying. Again, even with a 6 game point lead here, can't get too comfortable. You never know which point could be the one to haunt you. We've seen 10-4 losses recently. Someone who was up 10-4 had 6 game points, even match points, and couldn't finish the match. But a quick break off the backhand. Ishikawa fails to spin it in, and Ying takes another game. It's 3-2. We'll be back for game 6 after this short break. And as time is called, players are back at the table for game 6. Ying now starting off with the serve. She won the last 2 games convincingly, 11-5 and 11-6. Kasumi Ishikawa had a 3-0 lead. Worrying never helpful, but now seems to be the time to get something done. Ishikawa had only lost 2 games coming into this match, beating Odorova, Zhang Jian, Misaki Morizono. And Ying on the other side had only lost 1 game so far. That was to Jun Ji-hee of Korea in the last round. Oh, that's as hard as they come to the deepest part of the table. From Ishikawa, we've seen it demonstrated on a few occasions in this match, but she's got the power. It's a question of time and when she's willing to spend it out here. The opportunity not always there for such a powerful shot, but that inside-out forehand once again. A bit too high and shallow on the table. Han Ying recognizing it quickly before the opportunity went away. The power again. Ishikawa really needs to stay focused out here. So far, she's doing a solid job, much better than the last two. Again, your opponent is constantly changing their game, especially when they're losing. Han Ying has varied her spins, and her attack percentages have gone way up throughout this match. But the attempted deep serve to the middle goes long. Deep in thought, Ishikawa trying to keep loose, keep from being frustrated. And much like many others on the women's Japanese national team, the positive head shake there. So heavy. Ishikawa sees it and has the time and still doesn't lift enough. Slicing under that ball, so rapid. A very open racket there from Han Ying. She's used that effectively. With such an open face of the racket, sometimes it's going to leave the ball a bit higher like it did there, but still so loaded with spin. Effective enough. 3 straight points for Han Ying. You can hear the importance out here. Ishikawa knows she does not want to go into a game 7 as far as momentum goes. Tough to come back after losing 3 games in a row. Another one of those shallow balls. Difficult to lift, not quite high enough. No time to waste on that one. Ishikawa smashing it out to the forehand side and taking it early off the bounce before Han Ying can come back. This is one thing that power and placement can really do, is keep your opponent away from the table and force them to cover more ground side to side. And as fast as Han Ying is, I'd say her specialty is control, able to stay close to the table. Control just off. It's a 1-point game. And sometimes since we've seen that at outright service point, Han Ying has used it effectively. Power deep on the table again into the backhand. And the safe play cross court to the length of the table. Ishikawa patiently spins it up and ties it. Was down 4-7. Won 4 out of the last 5 points, and timeout is called by Coach Jie Shep, defensive specialist for the women's national team in Germany. Kasumi Ishikawa recently changed coaches and is sort of between coaches right now. So as her practice partner, acting as coach, one of her practice partners, Gao Yu Yao. It seemed like the forehand attack of Han Ying was getting several points in a row. The serves deep into the backhand have been effective. Anything she can do to get Kasumi Ishikawa using the backhand to attempt to open up and start the point could be an effective strategy. I think there's been less consistency on the backhand. I also feel like we haven't seen as many floating chops from Han Ying. From the backhand side, she'd had a few throughout early on in the match. I guess early on in her comeback, starting on game 4. Back from the timeout, Han Ying with the serve. So heavy again. The open-faced racket on the forehand side has been the bread and butter for the last game or two for Han Ying. Back edge of the table for Ishikawa to tie it up. The quick apology there. But the luck has circled around. Both players have had their share of it. That ball's still retrievable, just difficult, as the trajectory had changed, of course. Ishikawa with the last 2 serves in a row that either player will see in game 6. Grunting her way through. It's 2 big loops to set up a match point for Kasumi Ishikawa. He's worked very hard to get here. Relaxing for a moment, now is not the time. And the body language seems quite positive from Ishikawa. Of course, it also comes down to who's on the other side of the table. The floating chop comes back. The saw, it's Han Ying saves a match point to tie it up, deuce in game 6. Was talking about at the timeout how we hadn't seen that in some time. And a subtle stroke from Han Ying, but those subtleties keep it very difficult and force Ishikawa to really stay focused here. Forehand counterattack from the short side of the table. Han Ying with 2 in a row now has a game point of her own to send this to a 7th and deciding game. We saw Ishikawa with ice on the back of her neck between games, trying to breathe deeply out here. How did that last one come back? Blasted right into the body, and Han Ying still keeping it on the table, forcing Ishikawa to make so many shots. You could see both feet in the air there. Little surprised that one came back. Late reaction from Ishikawa, but not too late as she takes the point. Second deuce in game 6. And that ball took a nasty hop, so much spin. Han Ying mistimes the counter loop. And another match point for Kasumi Ishikawa. What you saw was Ishikawa waiting for the ball as it went over the barrier. The power goes long. Of course, the chops of Han Ying making it difficult. Deep at the table again. Varying up her spin. She's shown heavier spin on the forehand side with the inverted rubber. On more occasions, the backhand has come back, slightly floating. Could almost see the label on that last chop. The slow motion replay anyway. Third deuce point, Han Ying with the serve. Again, patient play and fast feet. Ishikawa, another match point, third one. Han Ying's been doing an excellent job of keeping it to the middle of the table and out to the forehand side for Ishikawa. But it's Ishikawa with a match point. And there it is, Kasumi Ishikawa. Finally, the smile comes out. A job well done. 4 games to 2 and 14 to 12, just like game 1, but in game 6 here. Onegaishimasu to the crowd. Kasumi Ishikawa will be moving on to the women's singles semifinals over Han Ying in her first ever victory for the first ever match against Han Ying. And what a performance from the 23-year-old from Japan. Stick around, we've got a match coming up. It's going to be Yu Meng Yu and Miyu Kato. You're watching the Polish Open. Stay here.